Today's All-American Lipton final features the power game of Pete Sampras and the all-court skills of rising star Malavia Washington. South Florida, the kind of day you expect, although we have had rain every day this week. Today, we'll be bringing you coverage of the men's final, a stop on the IBM ATP Tour, as the #2 player in the world, Pete Sampras, takes on the first African-American to crack the top 20 since Arthur Ashe in 1979. It has been a terrific tournament for Malavia Washington. The weather has not cooperated with this tournament this week, but today we have an absolutely gorgeous day for the men's final. Temperature 78, humidity at 85%, gust of wind up to 15 miles an hour. It says a chance of rain, but we look to be in great shape right now. Hello everyone, I'm Julie Moran, and this Lipton Championship is a Super 9 tournament on the IBM ATP Tour. Now what that means is that 8 of the top 10 players in the world must compete in this Super Championship, although we were very lucky this week to have 9 of the top 10 players here this week. The prize money is big, almost $210,000 going to the winner. And joining me now is Cliff Drysdale. And Cliff, the seeds really started falling very early this week.
They did, Julie. Had a very good feel going into this thing, as you said, but then the seeds started to fall. It started with the #1 seed, Jim Courier of the USA. He lost to Mark Woodford of Australia, and I expect to see Woodford, as a result of that win, playing for Australia against the United States next weekend in the first round of the Davis Cup. Pete Sampras is in the final. The others are all gone, though. Edberg, Becker, Korda, Ivanisevic, Chang, and Agassi all beaten before the final day.
Cliff, how do you see this matchup today, Sampras-Washington?
Well, you know, Malavia Washington simply says, if you want to have a win over me, you've got to beat me. His problem today is the fact that the man he's playing against, Pete Sampras, can beat him because he's got such a good game. He, in my opinion, is the most talented tennis player in the sport, and I expect to see him win. The only problem, as far as he's concerned, is that he has, for these last 3 days, had shin splint problems, and he's had a history of that. So we'll have to see just what kind of condition he's in. Okay, also joining us today is Betsy Nagelson. And Betsy, it was just 2 years ago that Malavia Washington cracked the top 50, but he really has made a steady climb in the rankings.
Well, he's a player that has made such solid and steady progress, and those are words that describe not only his game in his head, but his rise in the computer rankings. What you're seeing now are year-in rankings. He made quite a jump in '90, handing Lindell his worst defeat in 5 years. Played real solid tennis in '91, cracked the top 50 for the first time, and again in '92 he had 2 tournament titles, his first 2, and certainly reached his goal of getting inside the top 20. You can see his highest rank ever has been 11, and currently ranked 18. Him reaching the finals here will certainly guarantee him a spot in the top 15, but he's a player that is just capable of playing anywhere on the court, a very dangerous player, full of athletic ability, speed, endurance. He's a very strong player. He's had a couple of really late matches, some long nights here, and I think he's going to have to call upon every mental and physical asset that he has to try to pull out a win today.
A very interesting matchup for this final, and also joining us, Pam Shriver, and she is down at courtside. Pam?
Thanks, Julie. As Cliff mentioned, Pete Sampras has a great game, but what makes his game great is his serve. Tremendous power and placement. In this tournament, as we see some comparisons between Sampras and Washington, Sampras has served 56% of his first serves in and 43 aces. Malavia Washington served 58%, but only 19 aces, and that's in 5 matches. As an example of the big serve of Sampras, yesterday in his semifinal match, 3-2 in the third, Sampras was up a break against Peter Korda. He was down 2 break points, 15-40. He served a big ace up the middle, and then he served a big service winner back to deuce. That's really disheartening for the opponent and really helps Sampras' confidence. Now, if Malavia Washington can find a way to return Pete's huge serve, he's got a chance. But when it's really on, it's not that easy. Julie?
Pam, you're right. That 120-mile-an-hour serve is the fastest at the tournament this week, and it's going to be very tough to beat. And we will be back with the start of the men's final at the Lipton Championships from Key Biscayne after this.
Natural, real brewed, as good as it gets. By Lipton Noodles and Sauce, the taste you can't wait to tear into. By IBM, there's never been a better time to do business with IBM. And by Lexus Luxury Automobiles, the result of a relentless pursuit of perfection.
American final at the Lipton Championships. This is the 4th straight year an American will win the title here. Pete Sampras against Malavia, Washington today. They are still in warm-ups. And let's look at the biographical information on Pete Sampras.
Pete Sampras, only 21 years old, has a great serve with his height, 6'1", and born in Washington, D.C., but spends a lot of time now in Tampa, Florida.
Fair to say also that he spent most of his formative years out in California and then moved over here to the east coast of Florida, near Tampa.
And here's a look at Malavia, Washington.
2 years older at 23, not quite as tall, very solidly built, very fast and strong. Born in Glen Cove, New York, and spends a lot of time in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, which is, of course, the headquarters of the ATP, where Malavia spends a lot of time practicing.
And let's take a look at their head-to-head competition this year. Sampras leads 4-0 in that category.
And, of course, the most recent was just earlier this year at the Australian Open, which Pete Sampras won in 3 straight sets. And in all the 4 meetings, Malavia has only taken a set off of Sampras.
A little controversy surrounding Malavia, Washington, Cliff, and the fact that he was not asked to play Davis Cup in the first round.
Julie, he says that he's asked that question a lot this week, and in truth, I would have selected him to play in the first round of the Davis Cup, USA and Australia next week. I think he's a tremendously talented player. He was a top-ranked player. He was a top-ranked player that was available, of course. Andre Agassi and Jim Courier and those guys had all made themselves unavailable for the first round. He would really have liked to have played Davis Cup, and I think he should have. Richard Kaufman is in the chair today.
And Pete Sampras is going to lead off with one of the fastest serves in tennis. The fastest serve at this tournament clocked at 124 miles an hour.
Incidentally, I'm not just saying that because he's playing in the final here. I was saying that before he got to the final. He's a terrific player. Sampras is another one who did not make himself available for Davis Cup, and the reason, in my opinion, is that he's playing in the final here of the Lipton. He had a very good chance to play anyway. Now, he's got to get on a flight, let's say tomorrow. He doesn't get there until Wednesday. They have to change surfaces. The first round of the Davis Cup will be at Kooyong Stadium on grass in Melbourne, and that's just too tough to expect anybody to do.
He actually had a couple of very difficult matches to get through. You can see he lost 2 sets on his way to the finals, but he had to beat Medvedev and Krajicek, 2 extremely dangerous players, very capable of beating Sampras. He had a tough draw.
Podmod's another one who's had a good year, actually, Betsy.
Yes, he has. He's really had to beat some good players to get to where he is today.
15 all here. And let's take a look at how Malavia, Washington got to this final here today.
And a lot of the seeds just not in that top half of the draw. Nicholas Colte got the walk over Boris Becker, the 4th seed. And, of course, Patrick McEnroe had put out the 6th seed, Ivan Nizovic. And Andruska, surprise winner in the semifinal. He had beaten the defending champion Michael Chang. And Malavia, Washington has spent a lot of time out here on this court. He didn't finish last night till 10:30.
The match with Patrick McEnroe ended at 1:10 in the morning.